This is about to be the worst day of my life. I don't know. This is like the debate anybody who's ever sniffed a cartridge before has to have at one point. What do you like better, Super Mario Bros. 3 or Super Mario World? Me personally, like, it changes on how I wake up in the morning. Oh, maybe it's a Mario 3 day, maybe it's a Mario World day. I think the problem is I have childhood memories of both of these games. These are both childhood games of mine, which, you know, you may think is surprising considering the fact I'm fucking 7 years old or something. All right, it was this version of Mario World that I played as a kid, the Game Boy Advance version, Mario Advance 2. The NES version of Super Mario Bros. 3, I played that at my grandma's house. She had one of my cousin's leftover NESs there with a shoebox full of old games, and one of them was Mario 3. Also, basically, the only one that mattered was Mario 3. I mean, of course, you had the original Mario 1 Duck Hunt combination cartridge. It also had, like, Excite Bike, Kung Fu Heroes, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1 and 3, The Adventures of Bayou Billy. Yeah, Mario 3 was basically the only one that mattered. And this was a huge highlight of whenever I'd come over. I mean, this was like a full-blown, super stacked video game. I loved this thing. I mean, I loved all the different power-ups, all the different levels, you know. I would basically just constantly play World 1 over and over and over of this game. I think I remember basically all I was capable of doing as a kid was getting to, like, the first halfway castle in World 1. You know, the one where you fight Boom Boom. I think, like, eventually I heard of that secret where if you get a leaf in the middle of that castle and you can fly up and you can find, like, you know, the flute. And then there's the whole secret of, like, crouching on that white block and then falling through and then getting the flute that way as well. So I definitely had some things going for me when I would play this game on the NES. Where, like, you know, I was starting to learn some of its ways, some of its secrets. However, I saw a lot of kids around me had this game right here, which I was like, that's the same game I play, except it would be on my Game Boy. Like, oh man, I was so envious of people who had Mario Advance 4. And you know what, let's be fair here. If we were battling these two versions of the game, this one would win hands down. Mario Advance 2 is all fine and good, but, like, it is a pretty straightforward port of Mario World. Mario Advance 4, they had a ton of junk to this game, especially if you're including all this e-reader support, which, I mean, like, I wouldn't blame you if you didn't. Basically, the Mario Advance 4 version of Mario 3 has just, like, excelled in recent years because of recent re-releases, both on the Wii U Virtual Console and Nintendo Switch Online, how all these extra e-reader levels are just playable from the very start of those versions of the game. Because in the Game Boy Advance version, you have to fucking collect all these cards, which, firstly, who the hell owned an e-reader back then? So, I mean, like, you had basically an entire game's worth of new content in the Game Boy Advance version of Mario 3 that just nobody played for years. That's interesting. They refer to Mario 3 as the best-selling game of all time. I didn't know it was considered that when this game released. Well, regardless, we're not battling these two versions of the game. Let's battle the vanilla original releases, because this is what we're always talking about here. I mean, both of these games are so impactful to the Mario franchise and video games as a whole, and they both add and do similar things to the point where yeah, it is really hard to kind of figure out, like, which one is truly better. I got three categories I like to use in this matchup here. We got presentation, which includes graphics, sounds, just how everything is overall presented to us here. Can even include story for all I care. It's not gonna make a damn difference. Content, which includes, like, you know, basically the levels at play here, how they play, the gameplay overall, and then legacy, you know, like, which one left the biggest impact. So let's start things off. Presentation. Mario 3 may be an NES game, but my lord, they do a lot with it. I'm not necessarily sure if I would consider this to be the best looking NES game of all time, but it's definitely high up there as one of the most impressive NES games. There's so much going on here. This is genuinely like the ultimate game for this console. The amount of different environments, all the different enemies, all the different power-ups, like, everything has its own feel, everything looks distinct. This game introduced the world map to Mario, and I think that just adds, like, such a unique layer to the gameplay and just contextually, like, what are we doing in this game? Genuinely makes it feel like this giant adventure, you know? It's just like, oh, we gotta look at the map. There are certain pathways that are blocked by enemies and you have to fight them. There are certain things you have to do to progress. It feels like you're traversing a lot. You're fighting the odds. You're going through all this to beat the game. And sound-wise, this potentially has one of the best soundtracks on the NES. There's a huge variety of music in Mario 3. Still all holds up to this day, still incredibly iconic. Some of the most iconic themes in all of Mario, they're still constantly used in Mario games to this day, and we can say the exact same thing about Mario World, but maybe not entirely the exact same. Graphically, Mario World definitely does look more colorful and is more vibrant than Mario 3. But I gotta be honest, when it comes to visual variety, I honestly think Mario 3 might be a bit better in this regard. I look back at a whole playthrough of Mario 3 and like it feels like you go through all different types of terrain, all different types of worlds. Like when you go to Giant Land, think about the variety of different types of levels in Mario World. A lot of them kind of look very similar to each other. I don't think there's any snow-themed levels in Mario World. I don't think there's any desert-themed levels. Now, of course, I don't think a Mario game needs those, but I think that just shows there is a bit more variety in Mario 3. Now, Mario World does introduce some new types of levels, specifically the ghost houses. That's a pretty big deal, and those kind of became staples of the Mario franchise from there on out. But when I think Mario World, I think forest, grasslands, mountain ranges, and caverns. Those are kind of the main things I think about. Mario 3, it's kind of all over the place. But I think this should be noted. I think the name Super Mario World makes a lot of sense considering the fact that this feels like just one world. Whereas Mario 3 feels like a bunch of different small worlds. Like Mario World retains the world map from Mario 3, but they expand it to be this giant one where you just keep on going. It's not like, oh, you completed World 1's map, now you move on to World 2, and it's just this completely brand new world map. No, in Mario World, it's this completely continuous thing. You can go from stage 1 and you can just walk all the way to the final boss when you get everything unlocked. So I think having less variety in the world themes honestly kind of brings everything together a little more, and it feels like you're kind of on this unique island, you know? And I feel like that does leave a pretty big impact on you when you're playing, you know? It does feel like a genuine adventure, probably a little more than Mario 3. Mario 3 feels a little more like, here's a wide array of cool levels to blast through, and you select them on this map. Mario World, the map feels like it's a much bigger deal, and it doesn't just feel like you're going through a list of levels or anything. So, you know, I do like the variety that Mario 3 has, and it still kind of contextually all works. You know, it still does feel like an adventure, but I think Mario World takes the concept that Mario 3 started and just expanded upon it to create an experience where it feels like you have entered a world. Now, when it comes to the music, I love Mario World's music, but every song is the exact same, and this is kind of the tricky thing, you know? A fair amount of Nintendo games do this, where like nearly every song is like the exact same melody, but just done differently. Practically every song in Mario World is da 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 da, but it never gets grating because it's not like they're just reusing the same song over and over. Many of the songs are quite different from one another, and they include like a lot of different elements to them. And then the Mario World theme is just kind of woven into them. It's not like, oh, here's another remix of the Mario World theme. It's not really like that. It's more so that the Mario World theme appears in every song, but every song is not the Mario World theme. But I gotta be honest, I think I prefer Mario 3's soundtrack. There's something about this soundtrack that just hits it for me. I think I do like how there's far more variety here, how every song is iconic in its own way, and how it utilizes the NES sound font. There's something about that that just tickles my eardrum a little bit more than Mario World. Now, of course, I can't speak entirely truthfully to this because I was not there when these games were completely brand new, but I've done a bit of research, and even looking at reviews back in the early 90s when Mario World hit, I saw some people a little more critical of Mario World back then, kind of going like, huh, wow, That's it. I think the thing is, a lot of the people talking about Mario World these days are kids that grew up with it, so that's probably something where you don't really think about that as a kid. This is incredible, holy shit. But I think older people that were running like the video game magazines and newsletters at the time were kind of like, oh yeah, Mario World, like it's good. But in comparison to like what we were already seeing on the Sega Genesis, you know, it was like, okay, that's cool, but it wasn't really doing anything like that crazy. And I think that's kind of a big problem with comparing these two. This was a launch game for the Super Nintendo. This was a later NES release. So obviously Nintendo kind of figured out what to do with the NES at this point. They were just starting to figure out the Super Nintendo when Mario World came out. I mean, just compare how Mario World looks to how Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island looks. Like, that is a huge example of like, oh my God, you can do that with the Super Nintendo? But listen, I love how absurdly colorful Mario World is. That it definitely has compared to Mario 3. Mario 3 definitely has a funny little color palette a lot of the time because that's all the NES could really do. But I think I'm always consistently more impressed with Mario 3 than I am with Mario World. Mario 3 is doing so much with the NES hardware, where Super Mario World, I honestly feel like a lot of the stages feel a little empty. I'm constantly surprised with what Mario 3 throws at me. Every single screen feels like it's jam-packed with something, you know, a bunch of platforms to go on, a new enemy I haven't seen before, a secret that has yet to be revealed. Mario World, a lot of times it just feels a little emptier than Mario 3. Couple that with how I do kind of prefer the soundtrack in Mario 3. While the world map is more impressive in Mario World, I think I gotta give presentation to Mario 3. Next up, let's talk content. So I want to talk about, you know, the levels, power-ups, boss fights, all of that stuff, replayability, the variety of stuff included here. And Mario 3 has a huge amount of levels, power-ups. This is variety mecca right here. I think that's the best way to describe this game. There's so much stuff in here. Even when it comes to mini games, like, you know, the matchup, the picture on the power-up mini game, it's rigged, but still, the card matching game. You even have a take on the original Mario Brothers arcade game in here as a little multiplayer battle game. And the amount of power-ups at play here is insane. The headliner of which is Raccoon Mario. Now, for some reason, they include Raccoon Mario and Tanuki Mario, which Tanuki Mario is the exact same thing as Raccoon Mario, except you can turn into a statue. I think that's neat as like a late game variant power-up that's kind of like a, oh wow, this is like the same as the raccoon suit, but what does this do differently? And it turns you into a statue. It's like, okay. It's a bit unnecessary, but yeah, it's still kind of cool. I don't really consider the Tanuki suit to be like an integral part of this game though. Like, oh wow, like this is a big deal that's here. Practically the same as the raccoon suit, so who cares? The frog suit, which is kind of the same as a couple other Mario power-ups, where it provides like a huge benefit to you at the cost of movement in other areas. I'm thinking, you know, the blue shell from New Super Mario Brothers, like that makes you stupid fast and you can take down all these enemies, but it's also crazy hard to control sometimes. Same with like Spring Mario and Mario Galaxy. Like, oh, you can jump super high, but you also move like a weird fuck. Frog Mario makes swimming a lot easier, but it makes any time you're outside of the water kind of annoying. There's the hammer suit, basically turned into a hammer brother. That's pretty cool. But to be honest, pretty much the only major ones you're gonna see are the Fire Flower and the Super Leaf. The other power-ups are definitely a lot rarer. But still, going from Mario 1, where you practically just had the Fire Flower, this is a huge upgrade. Mario World, on the other hand, doesn't really do a lot with power-ups. Pretty much the main one that's introduced here is the Cape Feather, turning you into Cape Mario, which, to be perfectly honest, is basically the exact same thing as Raccoon Mario. You can glide, you can fly, you can whack things with it. Fundamentally, it's the exact same. It controls a bit different. Like, the way you fly is definitely different from Raccoon Mario. It's a lot more about maintaining horizontal movement compared to flying in Mario 3, where you can go vertical for a bit of time, but it doesn't last forever. So they're different, but it's not like the Cape power-up is really anything that crazy in comparison to what we got here. I would say it's an upgrade though. I mean, you get kind of a burst of vertical movement at the start, and then you can kind of go horizontal for an extended period of time. But it's not like this power-up is treading uncharted waters, you know? You also get the P balloon, which turns you into Balloon Mario. I mean, that's something, I guess. And then other than that, that's kind of it. Get the fire flower as per usual. I think kind of the main thing that's the focus here is Yoshi, which I don't think we can really understate how big of an inclusion Yoshi is. I mean, this is like one of the most popular Mario characters of all time. Mario 3 didn't have an inclusion as big of a deal as Yoshi became. And Yoshi in of himself could be considered a power-up in his own right. I mean, you have all the different variants of Yoshis. You know, you have red, blue, and yellow, and they all have different abilities. You have the baby Yoshis too. I mean, like, Yoshi is a huge addition. And honestly, I would say the inclusion of Yoshi by itself is probably a little more impactful than all the different power-ups of Mario 3. Yes, the frog suit is cool, the hammer suit is cool, but like, how impactful were they really? They barely appeared outside of this game. And on top of that, in this game, they are very rare. Yes, it makes it really cool when you actually get them, but then they're gone in one hit, so it's just like, why even bother? While Mario World doesn't have as many power-ups as Mario 3, I think they kind of trimmed the fat. I think while that's a cool element of Mario 3, it didn't really do a lot with the power-ups at its disposal. I mean, something like the Tanuki suit was just kind of included because like, oh, that's kind of weird and cool. But like, what did it really add to the game other than like, oh, that's a rare power-up? Mario World gives you power-ups that you need and are cool, and still has rare things for you to find. Like, the different colored Yoshis are still kind of rare, but you know what's cool is you can, like, find them and you can bring them to other levels. Because Mario World also has a save feature, so once you beat the game, like, you can just go back to your save file, go to any level you want, grab a rare power-up you know is in a certain level, or grab a Yoshi you know is in a certain level, and bring them to other stages. Mario 3 has this annoying thing that once you beat a stage, you can't go back to it. You don't have a save feature. You don't even have a password feature. I only have ways to get past this point these days. Like if you play this on any kind of virtual console or Nintendo Switch Online, you can just do a save state, or if you're emulating the game, whatever, just do a save state, rewind, who cares? The re-release in Super Mario All-Stars you can save. Mario Advance 4 you can save. The original release here though, lame. Because of all of this, I would say Mario World is a bit more focused. I think its world and the secrets throughout and all the things that are rare and weird feel very intentional. Stuff like going to those special levels where you have to hit the switch and then all these new blocks start appearing throughout the game. How when you complete the whole game, then the whole world like changes its color palette and like the Koopas turn into weird Mario heads or something. How you have the Star World, the special world. This just feels like an experience where everything links together in the end. And they incorporate secrets as a huge part of the experience. I mean, you can see on the world map when it's a red dot, that means there is an alternate exit. I think they actively encourage you to explore these levels. And that's the thing, these levels are big enough to explore. Mario 3's levels are wicked short. These stages are so damn quick and fast, they're over within like 30 seconds, if that even. Of course, that's more so talking about a lot of the stages near the beginning of the game. Once you get to the end, things definitely get a little trickier, but I do find that Mario 3's stages are pretty breezy to blast through. Because I feel like both of these games feel like massive adventures in different ways. This feels like a massive interconnected adventure. This feels like a massive adventure when it comes to just the variety of things on display. You know, let's talk control and boss fights. Both of these games kind of control in a bit of a different way. I'd say Mario 3 is more momentum focused, where Mario World, it's a lot more instantaneous. Like your jump isn't as focused on like your momentum. And I don't know, I feel like I have more instantaneous control of Mario in Mario World, but I feel like the control is more natural in Mario 3. Mario 3's control feels like how Mario generally feels in most 2D platformers. Mario World, it feels a little different. It's not bad. I don't think either of these games control poorly. But if I had to pick one, I would say Mario 3. I prefer how Mario 3 controls. And when it comes to the boss fights, both of these games include the Koopalings. You also have Boom Boom at the halfway point castles, which I would say Boom Boom left a bigger impact than the Reznors, the fucking dinosaurs in Mario World. Those guys reappeared in New Super Mario Bros. 2. Who cares? But while the Koopalings were introduced in Mario 3, obviously I think Mario World did way more with them. I think the castles have a lot of personality in Mario World. I mean, not only is the fact that like, yeah, in the first castle, when you go onto that grate thing, and then you see Mario's back, and then you punch that little square, and then you flip to the other side, like, That was crazy. And I love the little cutscene that plays before and after each of the castles. I love when you walk into the castle. Firstly, I think it's cute that, like, you can't bring Yoshi into the castle because it almost feels like Mario is like, all right, you stay back. I got this. But I love the little thing where they just have Mario look up before the castle. I always kind of interpreted that as like a big gulp, or him just kind of pausing and like preparing himself for what he's about to endure. But then after you beat the castle, they always play this cute little animation of Mario literally fucking blowing it up. Mario, buddy, that's terrorism. Now, Mario 3 has the airships, which I honestly find the mechanic of these to be kind of interesting. It does kind of encourage you to finish all of the levels on the world map. You don't have to beat all the levels on a world map to get to the very end. But if you fail during an airship portion of Mario 3, the airship then moves to another area of the map. So you might have a little problem there. If you didn't beat all of the stages, you might have to beat one of the stages to get back to where the airship has landed next. That's an interesting mechanic. It's annoying as sin, but like, it's interesting. And I love the concept of the airship. I mean, like, it became a staple of the Mario franchise. But I'll definitely say after the first or second airship, like, I'm kind of like, all right, like, I get this. I think Mario World's castles are definitely a little more interesting. Man, this is a tricky one. I feel like these are honestly kind of equal when it comes to the content included. I feel like Mario 3 has more stuff going on, like a bigger variety of stuff, but like sometimes that variety of stuff just doesn't really amount to much, or it's just kind of bullshit. Like, yeah, I think it's really neat that you have these little mini games involved, but like that fucking match the picture slot machine thing, it's fucking rigged. And while I think the variety of power-ups is really cool in Mario 3, I find that Mario World does more with the power-ups and also Yoshi at its disposal. And while Mario 3 introduced the Koopalings, Mario World actually did shit with them. The Koopalings all sort of kind of play the same in Mario 3. There's differences. Mario World, they actually do something with them. And Mario 3 has a ton of great secrets, but I think Mario World just takes the concept of like, oh my god, discovery and secrets in all of these levels and just rolls with it. The secrets feel so much more intentional, so much more tangible. You get actual stuff when you discover secrets, like, oh my god, here's a brand new stage. Oh my god, here's a new route. Yeah, you get stuff like that with Mario 3, like I said, like the whole magic flute thing. But Mario World took that element and just crafted a whole experience with the secrets kind of like being like the basis of it all. And that's been a huge element of Mario games since day one with the original Super Mario Brothers. I mean, like when one of my cousins told me about the whole like warp zone thing in Mario 1, I bet they felt like the most powerful motherfucker on the planet. They were like, yeah, I know this, check this out. And then I'm like, what the fuck? Overall, I think I'm giving content to Super Mario World. Well, we're down to the last category here, and that is Legacy. Which one of these left the biggest impact on not only the Mario franchise, but video games as a whole? And god damn it, I don't know. These are in such a weird ass position where like I feel like they're basically equal. Think about all of the Mario games that followed. You know, what games took from Mario 3, what games took from Mario World. So I'm immediately thinking, you know, look at something like Super Mario Land 2. That takes most of its stuff from Mario World. Even like Mario's sprite in the game, a lot of the art style, and even the world map invokes a lot of Mario World. It's kind of this big sprawling world map. But when it comes to a lot of the other 2D Mario games, most of them kind of take from Mario 3 when it comes to the world map. Look at stuff like New Super Mario Brothers, New Super Mario Brothers Wii, Mario 2. Those games definitely kind of like have that just world by world map. But then New Super Mario Brothers U is obviously inspired by Mario World's map, and then Super Mario Brothers Wonder is kind of an extension of the idea of the Mario World map. But then let's take a look at what power-ups return. And then, yeah, honestly, Cape doesn't really return. Raccoon Mario returns, but not as much as Tanuki Mario. I never really understood that. Maybe it's because it's more instantly understandable, like what it is, since it's a full-blown suit. With Raccoon Mario, it's just ears and a tail. But Raccoon Mario did reappear in New Super Mario Bros. 2, but Tanuki Mario reappeared in Mario 3D Land, 3D World. The Tanuki tail became an item in Mario Kart 7. The Koopalings were introduced in Mario 3 alongside Boom Boom, whereas, you know, with the Reznors in Mario World, like, yeah, those didn't leave as much of an impact. But Bowser's clown car appeared in Mario World, which eventually became like a huge staple of the franchise. Started appearing in the new Super Mario Brothers series. Then it became synonymous with Bowser Jr. Like that's how he appeared in Super Smash Brothers. And ever since then, like Bowser Jr. and that clown copter have kind of always been seen together. But of course, Mario World did introduce Yoshi, which is definitely like top 5 biggest characters in the Mario series. The baby Yoshis came back in New Super Mario Bros. U. You know, this is just me kind of like guessing. This is just based on like my experience, but I feel like the music and sound effects of Mario 3 are more consistently referenced in future material compared to the music of Mario World. I mean, Mario 3 was always kind of seen as more of like an event. I almost do kind of feel like when Mario 3 gets a re-release, it's almost seen as kind of a bigger deal than when Mario World gets one. I don't know, that just might be me. I mean, I remember back during the Wii U Virtual Console, they waited for Mario 3 to come out on that. Mario World was available right from the start of them putting out Virtual Console games on Wii U. They waited like a full year for Mario 3 to release, and they gave it like this full-blown trailer for the Wii U and 3DS Virtual Console. They were like, here it is, Mario 3. You know, they highlighted Super Mario Advance 4, Mario 3 when Game Boy Advance hit NSO. Of course, like that's not really the same thing. I think they included that one because that's the Super Mario Advance game with like the most merit, just due to all those e-reader levels. God! I genuinely don't know. I feel like both of these contributed so much to the Mario franchise. I feel like it's equal amounts. But when it comes to what was the more impactful video game as a whole, oh my gosh. To be honest, just because it came out first, I might go with Mario 3. Mario 3 pioneered a lot of things in video games and platforming video games. It showed that video games could be so much more than just basic levels. There's just so much more going on in this game. When you compare the jump from Mario 1 to Mario 3, it is astronomical. And then you compare the jump from Mario 3 to Mario World, and it's not as astronomical. You know, Mario World is an upgrade in many ways, but at the same time, it does almost feel like it's Mario 3, but done a little differently, you know? It is a bigger game in many ways, but at the same time, I don't really think it's actually like that much bigger than Mario 3. It's kind of like Mario 3 on a console with a little more wiggle room to kick its feet around in, you know? More colorful, bigger levels, a bigger world. But I feel like these are pretty comparable. So I think for Legacy, I'm gonna give it to Mario 3. So overall, the winner is Super Mario Brothers 3. Like I said at the beginning here, this can always change. I mean, like, it depends on the day. But I have found that over the years, I kind of veer a little more towards Mario 3. I just kind of think it's the more impressive game. And it came out only within a few years of Mario World. Like, these were pretty close releases, which makes the leap this took pretty impressive. But also, just think about the leap this took from something like Mario 1, Mario 2. Like, this was a huge deal. And who knows, maybe tomorrow I might be a Mario World fan. I don't know. At the end of the day, both of these are some of the greatest video games known to man. You know, it doesn't matter if we disagree on this, as long as we all can agree that this one sucks ass.